All right, hello again, and welcome to Adjectives 1.5. So this is it's the fifth goal, but the fourth segment that you've done, and we are really moving along with the adjectives unit here. This is the second to last unit. Friday will be the last, not unit, chapter. Friday will be the last chapter, and then we'll start doing some reviewing and wrap up and making sure that everybody's on the same page. So we're really cruising. But for now, the goal is to be able to recognize and use pronouns as adjectives. So as you can see, the trend is being able to look at a sentence and say, okay, where's the adjective in here? And could I use this adjective in my own sentence if I had to? That's the goal. Today we're talking about specifically when pronouns are used as adjectives. And I would say this is probably the most important lesson that we will do, just because the bulk of the adjectives that you are going to know by the end of this and see on your test are going to be found in this particular lesson. So listen up and make sure that you are following along and doing all the pause and think activities and such. All right, here we go. Come on, work. There we go. All right, so if you remember when we talked about nouns as adjectives, back on Tuesday, this is sort of the trend that we're sticking with, right? Different parts of speech disguising themselves as adjectives. And pronouns can do that too, some pronouns. So if we think back to quarter one, when you learned about personal pronouns, or more specifically, possessive pronouns, those can work simultaneously as adjectives. So with these particular ones, we're not changing them into adjectives. They're doing it at the same time. They're being a pronoun and an adjective at the same time because they're kind of working with two separate nouns. And I will show you how this works on the next slide. But for now, just understand that a pronoun functions as an adjective if it modifies a noun. That's the key thing to remember, that modification word. It's changing the noun in some way. So 7 personal pronouns are known as possessive pronouns because they have antecedents. Remember? I was definitely here for this. I remember helping you guys with this on worksheets and things when I was your student teacher. Good times. So what are the 7 personal pronouns? Do you remember? My, your, his, her, he, she, it's, our, and their. What is an antecedent? Well, do you remember? I don't know. Here it is, the noun that is renamed by the pronoun. So if we look at this sentence, the young girl packed her own lunch for school. So if I were doing this with you in quarter one, I'd really be focusing on the fact that her is renaming young girl, the noun, or not young, just girl. Her is renaming girl. My goodness, I'm almost like being a hypocrite here. Young is an adjective. So her and girl are kind of work hand in hand when we're talking about pronouns. When we're talking about her being an adjective, it's actually the fact that her is modifying the noun lunch. So we know that it's not just any old lunch, it's her lunch. So her works in 2 ways here, to rename girl and to modify lunch. Adjectives are the only part of speech that modify in this way. So that's important to remember. And possessive pronouns act as pronouns and adjectives. They don't change. So if we do a little pause and think, I would advise you to pause your video and look at each of these sentences and think, where is the possessive adjective? So what particular pronoun is functioning as an adjective at the same time and modifying a noun? So go ahead and pause, and then we'll go through it. All right. So number 1, after grabbing coffee, my friends and I decided to go study in the library. My friends. My is modifying friends, designating that they are my friends. On our tour of Concordia, the tour guide mentioned that the school offers free laundry services. Our tour. And then for our last one, he liked chocolate ice cream, but vanilla was his favorite. His is modifying favorite here. These are pretty easy because no matter what sentence you look at on whatever worksheet or test that I give you, if you see a possessive, you know automatically that it's an adjective because they always do both things. They always function as both a pronoun as an adjective. So these are really the least of your worries. When it gets tricky is when we have to look at pronouns that change into adjectives. So they aren't doing both jobs at the same time, right? You have to know, okay, is it functioning as a pronoun in this sentence, or is it functioning as an adjective in this sentence? And the ones that do this for this category are this, that, these, and those. And like I said, they do not function as both at the same time. They actually are either an adjective or a pronoun. A little trick is that when they function as adjectives, they always come before the noun they are modifying or changing. If they're acting as a pronoun, they come before a verb. So let me show you what that looks like. When it's a demonstrative pronoun, did Shelley drop this? It's a question, so obviously the verb is going to come before the actual pronoun, but same idea, they're working hand in hand, they're next to each other. This is not modifying any other noun, right? It's verb pronoun. This is a better example. Those are pretty, no, there we go. Those are pretty earrings. So those, our pronoun, is coming before are, which is our verb. Those is not modifying earrings. We're not saying those earrings, we're saying those are. You have to watch for that difference. So it's really important to think back to verbs unit and make sure that you know what a verb is too. So that'll be really helpful to you. When they're functioning as adjectives, we'll see it like this. Did Shelley drop this book? This is coming before the noun book. It's designating that it's this book and not that book, and that's why it works as an adjective here. Here, those earrings. Now we have those working as an adjective before earrings, designating that they are those earrings and not these earrings, right? So if we do a little pause and think, go ahead and pause your video again and look at the underlined word. This is a skill you're going to have to get used to because on your assignments for this particular section and then on the test, I'm going to underline a word and say, tell me, can you recognize based on what you know from first quarter and what you know now, is this a pronoun in this sentence or an adjective? Because again, with the demonstrative ones, it can go either way. So I want to make sure that you can make that distinction. So go ahead and pause your video and see if you can identify if the underlined word is a noun or a pronoun or an adjective. Hopefully you paused. Let me give you the answers. One is an adjective because we're saying these lessons. We are putting a modifying adjective in front of a noun here. There shouldn't be any misunderstanding here because we're not putting these in front of a verb. If it were in front of a verb, you'd know it's a pronoun. Like in number 2, those are the best kind of candies you can buy. We don't know that we're talking about candies until the end, so we know that this adjective in this case isn't an adjective. It's not modifying candies in this sentence. It's just working as a pronoun to rename candies because it's next to a verb. And then in 3, I never thought I would have to use that function. That is working as an adjective here to modify function. Moving on to interrogative. If you have forgotten, interrogative means questioning. So you have like interrogative as a sentence type. Those are always the questions or the sentences posed as questions. So we have which, what, and whose as our words here. So same thing as the last ones. It's going to change into an adjective. It's not going to function as both. So we could say what happened and what is working as a pronoun here. It's not describing any noun. There isn't even a noun in the sentence. Same with this one. Whose is that? Who's what? We don't know, right? That's how we know it's not an adjective. It's not describing anything. It's just functioning as a pronoun to go in place of whatever this word was. When it works as an adjective, we see what color is the egg? What describing the noun color? Whose pet is the canary? Who's describing the noun pet? Should be getting easier, hopefully. So same thing for this pause and think. Pause your video, look at the underlined word, and tell me, is it functioning as a pronoun or an adjective here? So hopefully you paused. Here are your answers. 1 is a pronoun. What is coming right before an adjective here? What, or a verb? Oh my gosh, I need to like drink more coffee. I cannot speak today. Okay, what is going on? What is coming before a verb? Which assignment is due tonight? Hey, which is describing assignment. It's an adjective in this case because it's designating like which assignment. Okay, and then our third one, what brand is your purse? Same thing, what is an adjective coming before the noun brand? So we know it is modifying it. What brand, and then your verb comes after. Okay. All right, the last category is our indefinite pronouns, adjectives. They answer the questions how many or how much. So there's a lot of different ways you could say this. Comes in singular forms, another, each, either, a little, much, neither, one. plural, both, few, many, or several, singular or plural, so they work both ways, all, any, more, most, other, some. And you won't have to memorize these, you'll just have to be familiar with them. And the same as the other two that we just learned about, they become an adjective. They don't work both ways, like the possessive pronouns. So here, as a pronoun, it looks like this. The dog ate one. One what? We don't know. That's how we know that it's filling the spot of a noun. That's why it's a pronoun. Same thing here. Few live in the Arctic. Few what? We don't know. It's not modifying anything. It's taking the place of a noun. We saw some at the lake. Exact same thing here. When we see it as an adjective, right, the dog ate one bone. One is now describing the noun bone. Few birds. Oh, now we know we're talking about birds. We're describing birds with few. Few birds. We saw some boats at the lake. Same thing here. I feel like I can kind of just breeze through this because you guys should know it after all of those examples we just did. It's the same thing, just different pronouns, right? With the possessives, they do it at the same time. With all the other ones, they do not. It's going to be one or the other. And that's the most important thing to remember. So if we pause and think again, same thing. Look at these, pause your video, do what you gotta do. You know the drill. All right, here are your answers. You'll need to circle 2 answers for each. That's a pronoun. Each is taking the place of whatever noun that was. Pronoun for number 2. The waitress asked if I wanted blue ranch or blue cheese, and I said both. 3, any word processing program will work to turn in your assignments. That is an adjective because any is now describing word processing program. It's not taking the place. You're directly describing that noun. All right, so that was so much. I'm sorry I had to speed up at the end because for this video screencasting program, I only get 15 minutes to do a lecture or else I have to pay for it, which I don't want to do. So I try to fit everything in that 15 minutes. But this was a really important lesson, so I wanted to make sure that I got all that information to you. So I'm done now. Here's what to do for today. Same as the other days, you are answering the daily check-in question in the Thursday folder. And then you were going ahead and completing the assessment, which is actually a practice. Going forward, I've kind of gotten rid of the Word doc upload thing because it's just too tricky when not everybody has the same programs on their computer. And so we're just going to do it via assessment. They won't go in as tests unless it is actually a test. But for these little practice things, they're not. They're just 10 out of 10 practice. You did it. Yay. And it'll give you a nice little grade when you're done with it, which is fun. So that is due at 11:59 today. All right. I really hope that you enjoyed my April Fool's joke in the Wednesday discussion forum. Hope you fell for it. If you didn't, you're not as gullible as me because I totally would have fallen for something like that. Yeah. All right. Let me know if you have questions. Farewell.